All right, Tim Conway Jr. here with Dr. Adair. Nice to see you.
Nice to be here.
And you are one of the premier doctors at Advanced Hair.
Correct.
That's a big deal. What is your background? Where'd you come from and where'd you study?
Well, how far back should we reach? I'm a board-certified plastic surgeon.
Oh, good.
I've been doing this over 2 decades. I started in plastics doing both cosmetic and reconstruction, and then I redefined my niche in the hair arena roughly 10, 15 years ago.
Okay. And what makes, I know there's a lot of companies, there's a lot of doctors that do a hair restoration procedure, but I hear from people all the time that we've recommended to Advanced Hair that you guys are the best. What makes you guys different from the other doctors and the other companies that do it?
Well, how can I say this in a self-deprecating way? I am a board-certified plastic surgeon, which I think gives me an edge because I'm highly trained in cosmetics. I've chosen this as a specific niche, so this is all I do every day. I don't dabble in other procedures or do any plastic surgery anymore. The crew we have working with us, who are equally important to my role, are all highly seasoned. The probably least well-trained one there has at least 10 years of experience. So it's a very well-oiled machine, and everyone works harmoniously. So that achieves the best results in my mind.
And in the old days, when my dad had it done back in the, 1970s, 1980s, they used to literally take a swath of skin out, remove the skin, suture it up, and then pull the hair follicles out of that skin. That no longer is the way to do it, huh?
Yes, is the answer to your question. It is no longer the way to do it. I've had that procedure myself, the strip method or the FUT. It is a little barbaric. There are people still doing this because that's what they're trained to do. It is a lot more painful and the recovery is more involved. What we do now is called an FUE, which is the follicular unit extraction. That is much easier. Doesn't really require any narcotics or serious pain meds, and we get better yields.
Okay.
It's come a long ways.
And what is the age range that you recommended? I'm sure if you're young, your scalp is still developing, and if you're 95, I don't know why you're doing it anyway. But what is the typical age range of people sliding in?
Really, it varies. We've done as young as 18 and up to 80s.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Guy's still in the game in his 80s.
It is Los Angeles.
Oh, that's right. The look at me capital of the world.
Correct.
Yes, that is right. All right. And so it's a one-day procedure.
Yes.
And do you recommend, obviously, you come in for a free consultation, which the office is great. I've been to the office at least a dozen times. And you can come in. You have your own little tiny private, waiting room, very discreet.
It is.
At this place, at your office, which I really value, and it seems like it's effortless. Like every step of the way, you think is a big deal, and by the time you're done, you realize there's been no big deals. It's effortless.
That's the beauty of this procedure, and as I said, our staff, who are all so well trained and so professional, that this is a seamless operation from beginning to finish. It makes my job much easier.
I bet. And how quickly after the procedure, let's say you have it done on a Friday.
Right.
You get there early Friday, you're done by Friday afternoon. How soon can you go back to work?
Depending on the type of work you do, as early as Monday.
Okay.
When I had mine done, I was back at work 2 days later. But of course, I can wear a surgeon's cap. So
right.
We typically recommend a week, depending on what you're doing, or if you have to wear a hat or a helmet and those kinds of things. Certainly by a week, you're safe. But in many instances, you can do it much sooner.
And what is the post-procedure, schedule? Do you go back in a week, 2 weeks, 3 months?
So that has really evolved over the decades. We typically will invite people back the next day to inspect the surgery and to perform a free hair wash, so to speak, which just cleans the area. You can do that at home as well. It's not a big deal. But after that, really, we don't see you for 6 months because by that time you had significant growth and there's not much going on.
Okay.
Just wait and see.
And how many grafts? What is the low end and what is the high end?
So there's a range, and obviously it depends on various factors, your head size, your density, what you need based on your pattern of loss. We've done as little as 800. Eyebrows, for example, might take only 200 or 300. But we've done as many as 4,000 on some people
In one day?
in one day.
Wow, that is wild. So the donor hair, is that still what it's called?
Yes.
The donor hair, does that regenerate and grow back?
So what really happens is we're selectively harvesting from this donor area, which has different DNA than the rest of your head. If you think of it as a band going around your head from the sides of your head to the back of your head, like a horseshoe, that hair is different. It has a different DNA. So we're able to utilize that by moving that hair to an area that does not have that DNA. So it is permanent.
And have you discovered, or other doctors, other scientists have discovered why the DNA is different in the horseshoe?
Not that I'm aware of. It's an evolutionary finding.
Isn't that wild?
It is.
It's sort of like Tylenol. What is it? They know it reduces fever, but they still don't know how.
So many drugs work that way.
Isn't that crazy?
Including Rogaine, which we use for hair loss, minoxidil. It started out as a blood pressure medication, and they noticed people were taking it in higher doses, developed hair all over their body. So someone decided to put this in a formula, rub it on your head, and it's been shown to work, especially in the crown.
And are those topicals part of the post procedure schedule for you?
Well, yes, those and some oral medications too. They're nice adjuncts to what we do. They are not a solution for hair replacement, but what they can do is salvage hair that it's on its way out.
Oh,
So
is that
you,
right?
you really need both for an optimal result.
Okay, so you recommend topicals, the pill after the procedure.
Yes, and if you need the hair replaced, that's what we do.
Okay, now I'm familiar with the topicals with the Rogaine. Unfamiliar with the pills. Is that something new?
Finasteride, it's been around for decades.
Oh, it has.
It's called Propecia as a trade name.
Right.
So that is a 1 milligram tablet, which blocks DHT. DHT is a byproduct of testosterone. DHT is toxic to your hair follicles and miniaturizes hair. So when this pathway is blocked, you can actually salvage a lot of the miniaturizing or small hairs on your head and regenerate them. But it doesn't replace lost hair.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay. All right. Now you have offices all over Southern California.
Actually, we have satellites all over Southern California. The only surgical office is in Beverly Hills.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So Westlake, Riverside, Newport Beach, we have consult offers in these locations.
Okay. All right. So you can get a consult in these other areas, but the main area is in Beverly Hills.
Correct.
That's where you do all the
Surgeries,
procedures.
yes.
And I don't know if people know this or not, but I've been through the procedure myself, and it comes with a free lunch.
That is true.
It
And a
was a
good one.
great sandwich. I don't know where you guys got it from, but it was great. I enjoyed that.
We are well situated in Beverly Hills for good sandwiches.
How long is the typical procedure? Mine was, I think, 4 hours, small lunch break, and another 2 hours. Is that typical?
That is typical. So somewhere between 4 to 5 hours at the low end, up to 7 or 8 hours for big cases.
Okay. Have you had any that have taken over a day or 2 day procedure?
Never.
Okay. And is it what percentage? I imagine it's probably 95% men.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
And why is that? Is that women, their DNA, they just don't lose hair like men do?
Women lose hair, but they're usually different factors. Men have what is called androgenetic hair loss. It's a combination of genetics and hormones. And we have pattern loss, which can be classified in a scale from 1 to 7, 1 being a Justin Bieber hair, and a 7 being that old man with a horseshoe on the back of his head,
Right.
and everything in between. Women don't exhibit these patterns. They have more of a diffuse thinning, which often extends into their donor. So they have different considerations.
Have you ever had a guy come in where he doesn't have enough donor, he's completely bald on top, and you're like, buddy, I'd love to do it, but we can't help you out?
Yes, that does occur, but it is infrequent.
Okay. All right. And also, when can you start to see results after the procedure?
So typically, you can see results at 3 to 4 months post-procedure, but this is early growth. And that's why we like to wait at least 6 months to really evaluate.
Okay. And is hair loss genetic? Is that something your father and grandfather gave to you?
It is genetic, but there's no direct pathway.
Oh, okay. All right. And it's weird, like when you see, they always say, you lose your hair from stress. They always, I don't know if that's an old wives' tale or what it is, But then you see people who are on the street who are either homeless or unsheltered, and they have a full head of hair,
Correct.
and they are under the more stress than anybody.
Yeah. Hair loss is very unpredictable.
Yeah.
But I would say at least half of men experience it in their lifetime. And I think it's much higher than that.
And how many procedures, let's say you had 4,000 grafts
hmm
done in one day and you enjoyed it, but you wanted the next year, you wanted thicker. How many times can you come back?
I've had people come back 8 or 9 times,
Is that right?
but that is by
Wow.
no means typical.
Okay.
Usually 1 to 2 surgeries is sufficient for most people we see.
Okay. All right. And this is obviously a question that I expect the answer to be pretty quick. But who's the most famous celebrity you've had?
Oh, can I say this? I think that may be a
That's
breach of
great. You start rattling
confidentiality.
off names. Well, I got this guy and this guy and this guy, and today there's another guy. There's a professional
Yeah.
golfer, But the confidentiality is great. It really is
Yes,
terrific.
we do maintain confidentiality.
Yeah, Dr. Adair, let me ask you a question. When the old procedure, they would take a strip of skin out, then remove the hair, and it left a scar in the back of a lot of guys' hair where you couldn't literally cut your hair, or if you got your hair wet, you'd see that scar, and that was a huge drawback.
Correct. And I have personal experience with that since
You
I've
had
had strips myself.
How many strips?
3.
3. Okay.
Now, they would either do it through the same incision, which believe me hurts more each time because old scar tissue is like cement. It's hard
Oh,
to numb.
wow. Okay.
But some people would actually layer the scars so you'd have multiple tracks on the back of your head, which made it even worse.
Yeah.
The beauty is what we do now with the FUE, or the current method of doing this, is we can work around those scars and actually harvest the hair above and below it so we can still get good numbers. So if someone has had a strip in the past, they're still a good candidate for a large number of grafts.
This again may not be on the spot, but please thank the help and the nurses. You have the most incredible people. I don't know how where the being kind and having a good personality is on your wish list when you hire new people, but man, it's got to be up on top. It's great.
We are very selective who we hire. We have a great team. I'm very grateful to be in this office because we work so harmoniously and everyone's on the same page.
And they all seem to be, and again, I don't care if it's authentic or not. They all seem to be very happy that they're there. I
They
like
are.
that.
They
Yeah.
are. They have a genuine commitment to this specialty.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it work so well.
That's right. Go to advancedhair.com, use the promo code TIM, and you can save up to 25% off. But the drawback is you have to do that before the end of August because that deal is going to change. I wanted to ask you this, does it matter what color of hair you have? Is it easier for red or black or blonde or gray hair?
Makes no difference. And if someone comes in with white or gray hair that's hard to see, we will dye the donor that day so it's more visible for harvest. And that's a temporary thing, of course, but allows us to harvest more grafts that way.
Right. Now, you personally, you said you've had it done 3 times with the strip, but how many times with the FUE?
I've had 3 strips and 1 FUE.
Okay.
I have
And so if
6,000.
you didn't have this procedure, would you be completely bald on top?
Mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly. Very high corners, and my crown was wide open.
Me too. I was the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, I see pictures of me 20 years ago, and I look probably 30 years older than I was. And now, I look probably 10, 15 years younger than I feel now.
It's amazing how rejuvenating it is.
Yeah.
To create a hairline and reframe the face sets you back decades in many cases.
Yeah, it really does. It really is great, and I love turning people on. I've had 2 people in the last year, one at the racetrack, at the Santa Anita racetrack, and another guy, I can't remember where I ran into him. I think it was a remote that we did. But both guys had it done, and one guy didn't tell anybody in his family. His wife didn't know. His mom didn't know. Nobody knew. Had the procedure, took a couple days off work, said he was going out of town, had the procedure done, and they still can't figure it out, but they all say, man, you've lost weight, or you look great, or you got a tan or something. They can't figure it out.
That's the beauty of this procedure. It's gradual and it's subtle.
Yeah. And how long before you need your first haircut? Where like you've had it, now it's growing out of control, you got to get it cut.
So hair typically grows about a ½ inch a month. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
it does.
Okay.
And When the donor is shaved down, which we typically do for this, within a few weeks, you can get a haircut if you desire it. Now, remember, the grafts are going to take more months to grow back. So that will take that long, 3 to 4 months at least, in the areas we've grafted.
And when do you see the optimal results where you've had, let's say you had it done January 1st.
hmm
At what month of the year would you say, I'm completely done, no more topicals, no more anything?
So the pat answer for that is it's somewhere between 12 and 15 months, you have maximal growth.
Okay.
But generally, you see very nice results by 6 to 9 months.
Right.
And it's more just fine tuning after that.
And you know what? And these 12 to 15 months are going to come and go anyway. You might as well look great,
Correct.
you know?
What's to lose?
Doctor, thank you very much.
Much
Again, go to the
appreciated.
website, go to advancedhair.com, promo code TIM, TIM, and get it done before the end of August because this promo is going to go away. You can save up to 25% off your procedure at advancedhair.com, promo code TIM. Advancedhair.com, promo code TIM.